What's up? What's up? What's up? It's Cayman Wolf, the Decrepit Gamer, reminding you you're never too old to game. Today, I'm going to go in and continue my Castle Ravenloft build. So if you're an old school Gen X advanced Dungeons and Dragons player like me, a Dungeons and Dragons first edition player who never called it first edition because there was no such thing as first edition, because there was no such thing as second edition. It was just advanced Dungeons and Dragons. And if you played Dungeons and Dragons back in the 1980s like I did, and were lucky enough to have gotten your hands on an original i6 Ravenloft module, you played one of the most phenomenal advanced Dungeons and Dragons experiences to be had. This is actually the second Ravenloft build video. The first one was terraforming the world, laying the foundation of the castle, and then building the first floor of the castle. So that was the first video, and if you're interested in seeing that, there's a link to it in the description, and also I will link to it at the end of this video if you want to get caught up. I plan to chronicle the entire build process, not only of the castle but of the entire server, the entire adventure server, and possibly the modding and everything else. So yeah, so that'll be linked in the description and at the end of the video. All right, so now I've added the floor of the second floor of the castle, and I've added all of the places where the walls are going to be raised so you can see the structure of the second floor. Everything came together nicely. This was interesting, and I didn't actually catch this until I actually started building it against the plans in the module, but this spire right here, this big circular room right here with the spiral staircase that goes around it, is shown to be on the first floor of the castle, 50 foot in diameter, and it comes up against this flight of stairs here on the other side of this wall that leads up here to this grand landing. And then on the second floor of the castle, it's depicted to be an additional 10 feet in diameter, and you can see that it's where on the first floor it's got this straight edge right here where it comes up against this flight of stairs, and on the second floor it's much more circular. And so what's happening here is when this spire rises up above the level of this flight of stairs, up above the second floor of the castle, it will come back around and extend on out to this wall. See, that staircase is right below this flooring right here. It's 20 feet wide, so it's right below where my cursor is pointing right here. You can see it. You could see it if I went down here and went around the corner, but it's so dark in here. You can see it right there. So when these stairs come back around, they're going to extend clear on over to this wall right here. The second thing, and I had overlooked this on the first map, and I've got to go back and add it now, but this is actually a secret door right here that leads into this little room right here. This little room right here is described in the module as having lots of gears and cogs and ropes and pulleys and a network of, mechanical things like that. And what it actually does is it operates an elevator. They don't use the word elevator. They use the word a compartment that ascends and descends, with this, when this thing is activated. But what they're describing is actually an elevator. But this shaft right here needs to go down past, see, I've got it started here just so I can see it, but it needs to go down past the first floor of the castle right here, so you can see it's here, and then it's also here. So that was something that I had missed, but that's very easy to go back and fix by just digging that shaft out starting from the second floor. This here, there's going to be a couple of thrones sitting here, and I believe there's a couple of whites sitting in those thrones according to the description. But this balcony here overlooks the chapel down below. And this right here was a discrepancy I couldn't really reconcile. It's not going to break anything in the build. It's going to, I mean, everything's still going to come together. I just think that it's not depicted correctly. And I'll show you, this is the servants' quarters right here. This is the servants' entrance down here. And this is the servants' quarters. Okay, and this 10-foot wide hallway comes to an end right here, and then you've got this little gap down here, and then you've got the servants' quarters and the servants' entrance. Now, if you look over on the map, you see here on the first floor where this has this little gap between the chapel and the wall, the exterior wall of the servants' entrance and the servants' quarters. You can see that right here. And then that's what you see. That's what you see right here. The servants' entrance, servants' quarters, gap. But then on the second floor, this, see, 10, 20, 30, 40-foot landing in the servants' quarters. It looks like this is not drawn correctly. It looks like this extends on flush with the exterior wall of the chapel here on the second floor. And on the first floor, there's a 10-foot gap right here. But either way, that is not going to hurt anything, because that is going to be the end of that. This is as high as this portion of the castle extends. So this is going to be capped off right here. So if you look at the picture of the castle, you can see here where the chapel is roofed off right here, and you can't see it, but the servants' quarters will be back here, and that will be closed off as well. So it's really not going to hurt anything. I just feel like, as phenomenal as this map is, they did not make very many mistakes, but it looks like maybe they did make a mistake in this portion of the drawing right here. Again, not going to hurt anything, but the first floor map lines up with what I have, and the second floor map does not. So now that we've got the floor of the second floor of the castle in place, that means that we have the ceiling of the first floor of the castle in place. And that makes the first floor all of a sudden much more atmospheric. It's also, because it's much more atmospheric, it's also much, much darker. And so I think the next thing to do is going to be to go back to the source material and look at where and how it references lighting. Let's look more closely at the description of the rooms and see how the rooms are lit. I don't think it's possible in Minecraft for a character to carry their own light source, mobile light source, and illuminate the area around them like a character carrying a torch without mods. I think it might be possible with some mods, but without mods, I don't think the characters can carry their own light source. And so I may have to be more liberal with the torches than what's described in the module, at least until I decide on a mod to add that will allow a character to carry their own light source. So the first room there, that first square room that we were in, that was the entry, and it says fluttering torches cast dim yellow flickers of light from the entryway. So it doesn't say how many torches, it just says fluttering torches. So 2 looked good to me right there. And then that octagonal room that I'm in now is the great entry. And it says, cobwebs hang from dust-covered columns of this great hall, illuminated by torches fluttering in iron sconces. Okay, so torches fluttering in iron sconces. And I'm thinking probably 4, one on each. I know it's an octagonal room, but corner, for lack of a better word. Let's try that. So it says torches and sconces. We're going to use that old trick of a item frame and a trap door. And let's put them on the third block, one above the character's head. Oh yeah, that's perfect. The the ceiling fades off into, I mean, you can barely see it. It pretty much fades off into darkness. And when I get the dome in place, you'll be able to see the dome begin, but the center of the dome will kind of fade off into darkness up there. Yeah, very, very nice. Very nice. All right, next we'll look at this little area over here outside the dining hall. I forget what the module calls this area. It's K9, and that is called the guests hall. Okay, let's see. This is interesting. If the PCs are entering this hall for the first time, use the first box description. If they have been here before, use the second box description. Okay, torchlight flutters against the walls of this vaulted hall. To the east, a dark and foreboding hallway runs into the darkness. That's the one that leads into that spiral staircase. Beside that opening, a suit of armor. Okay, that's that little alcove that I got there. Large double doors hang slightly open. A steady bright light escaping through the opening. Okay, that's where the dining hall and the organ and all of that is. That's that elegant dining hall. So I think what happened, so the second description says the hallway lies in darkness. Double doors open to the west. To the east, a single arch corridor of stone masonry is lit by the light from the circular stairs now visible some 20 feet away. So if I remember correctly, what happens in that dining hall is, yeah, when the figure of Count Strahd, when the illusion of Count Strahd is dispelled, there's a laughter in the background and a bone-chilling wind arises and blows out all non-magical lights. So this would put out the torches that were described when the characters first enter the area. And so, because this is a persistent world, I think I'm going to use a combination of the first and second description. I think I am going to have the dining hall well illuminated with the chandelier and the table and all of the food laid out and all of that. But I think that I'm going to just let the light from the dining hall and the circular staircase pour into that entrance hall right there. Yeah, so I believe that this light from these torches here and the light from here and the light from down here is going to be enough to leave this place lit well enough that characters can see to get around and just leave it very eerie. Now the dining hall, this is going to be some work here. Let's see, let's get this thing lit up just enough so I can see with some temporary lighting here. Let's just put a torch here and a torch here so I can see what the fuck is going on. Maybe one over here. Yeah, okay. So in the description, this dining hall, K10 here, is brilliantly lit by 3 massive crystal chandeliers. So right now we're just focused on the lighting. But I do want to get the lighting correct. So brilliantly lit by 3 massive crystal chandeliers. Okay, so this is what I came up with for massive crystal chandeliers. Hey, this is just something I just threw it together. It's crystal, so I just used glass and just sort of made a symmetric shape out of it and put candles on it. Certainly this will change as I add polish. I thought it would be a nice aesthetic to have them hanging at different heights, asymmetrically. Also, I'm not sure if this is providing enough light. It says the room is brilliantly lit. So probably, yeah, this will probably certainly have to evolve. I mean, the chandeliers are just pretty basic looking, but it'll do for right now. It lights the room up and it shows that these are crystal chandeliers. So as I come back to this and add polish, I can reconsider this design. These walls are supposed to be marble, and this is also supposed to have a lavish table laden with food, and that will probably also have candles on it as well, so that will brighten up the room a little bit. Also, if I'm not mistaken, I believe there are some blocks in Minecraft that just have their own illumination, so you can light an area up without it being obvious where the source is coming from, which I may combine. If that's true, I may combine that along with these chandeliers to give the impression that these chandeliers are casting a lot more light than they actually are. All right, let's see about this staircase here. Is there any word in the description on how this staircase is illuminated? There is not. The staircase doesn't have a designation or a description. Let's look at the landing. The landing is K19. Okay, so K19 doesn't describe that there are any torches in the room, but it mentions light here. It says light filtering through the dust shows 2 suits of armor covered with dark stains, and talking about in those alcoves right there. I'm assuming that this is referring to light cast from the torches that are being carried by the characters, but we don't have that in Minecraft as far as I know. So let's place a couple of torches in here. So I think maybe just at either end of the room. Yeah, I think that's plenty, if not too much. In fact, the entire area may be getting, the entire castle may be getting too bright. If that's the case, we'll end up removing some of these torches, but yeah, this is plenty. This looks good. It's good for the stairs and it's good for the landing. All right, let's look at this Hall of Faith. Yeah, all it says is this long, dusty hall leads eastward into the dark heart of Ravenloft. Statues line the hallway on both sides, their eyes seeming to watch you as you pass. So it doesn't mention any light source. It is quite a long, dark hallway. Let's go ahead and put a torch in it for now. All right, what about the chapel? It's hard to really tell how dark it is because there's no roof on this area right now. Beyond this debris, lit by a single piercing shaft of light, an altar stands upon the platform. The light falls directly on a small statue, a figure draped over the altar. Okay, it doesn't mention the source of that light. I'm not going to light this right now until I put a ceiling over it so that I can get a feel for how much it needs to be lit. These 2 alcoves here don't mention a light source. K18 and K29 are the stairways that come from behind those alcoves. So let's see if there's light in those. Okay, again, it doesn't specifically mention. So what we're going to do, because these areas right here are supposed to be creepy with this armor or whatever the hell it is, and these alcoves right here, I'm going to just put a light source in the stairwell and let that bleed down into the chapel. Let's put another one right here. And another one here. It's all 3 landings have a torch on them. I think this spiral staircase will have a torch on every other landing. All right, I felt like the whole place was getting a little too bright, so I removed these 2 torches back here from the entrance. And the grand landing up here had 1 torch on either side. I removed those and just placed a single torch here in the middle. I believe that looks nice and creepy with that light from that single torch spilling over onto that wall back there. Okay, so that's enough light work for the first floor. Right now we can see to, move around in there when we go to add the polish. Let's set the time back to day so that we can see and continue on with the second floor. All right, so fast forward a little bit more, and I've gone ahead and raised the walls of the second floor of the castle. So these all extend up 40 foot now. And so that defines the rooms, all of the rooms of the castle. There's no roof on the second floor because that would be the floor of the third floor. So I don't know what that looks like yet. I've got to consult the map there. But I've gone ahead and put down these floor tiles here that define the graph. They make a pattern on the floor, which I think looks nice. But then they also help me reference when attempting to build and keep my structure in line with what's shown on the drawing. So there were some interesting emergent things that came out as I was building out the second floor. One is, you see these column heads right here. These are not just decorative. I put these in place because these cover up there's a stairwell in here, right here, that ascends up to the audience hall right here. That if you don't have these column heads right here, these stairs will protrude a little bit out of that upper corner of that castle right there. So I think they look nice. I think they are decorative, and they also serve a purpose. I've rounded out the arch over the main entrance a little bit using some stairs and some planks. Inside, it's a lot more narrow, but I did something similar on the inside as well. When the construction is complete and I start putting in all of the finishing touches, this door will become, I'll refill this area that I'm just using as kind of a cheat to walk through right now. I'll refill that, and this door will become operable using structure blocks and or command blocks and redstone, things like that, advanced building techniques. And the same is true for all of these doors. This is the audience hall right here. This will have a throne sitting in it. And there are potential encounters that can take place here in the module. I don't know how that's going to play out on the server. We're going to see how the adventure server plays. The first thing to do is to get the castle built. So I'm going to just, keep myself, I don't want to put the cart before the horse here, but there's going to be a throne in here and then some other decorative things. You can see all of these places like this right here. There's going to be a doorway right here. A double door here and a double door here. I haven't built these yet because what I'd like to do is have some standardization to the way the doors are designed, or the way the doors look. Double doors versus single doors versus gates, things like that inside the castle. I want them to be a little bit standardized. So some of that stuff is going to have to be reworked, and I will make those decisions once the structure is all in place. And I'm going and putting finishing touches by reading the description of the different rooms and putting in details that align what I'm building with what the room descriptions say. Now, some of these are secret doors, like this is a secret door. This is a secret door. These are going to have to be done with some sort of mechanic, maybe piston blocks. I mean, I really don't know yet. I feel confident that all of that stuff can be done. I just am not sure. I'm not making the decisions yet on how to go about doing it. This will be one of the first real challenges here. So this is the balcony that's overlooking the chapel. Okay, so the chapel does not extend up the full height of the castle. The chapel is roofed off. According to the depiction in the module, the end portions of this chapel are lower, have a lower roof than the center portion. And this battlement here will, with starting from level 3, this battlement here extends all the way over. So these battlements here, they're going to extend out to the wall, and the whole thing is going to be joined. And this one extends over here to the castle and goes over the top of the chapel. And let me show you what that looks like. So this drawing here depicts the rear of the castle. This is the chapel, and this is that walkway that you see. That this goes clear over that north side of the chapel. But as you can see in this drawing here, this is cut off, and it's not showing how this is actually built. It's not showing how this integrates with that chapel, and it also is not described in the text. And so that's just a design decision that I'm going to have to make. I think what I will do is probably have this symmetrical. So they are depicting a rooftop here. And this looks like it only goes up maybe 40 feet. Like this is the height of the first floor of the castle. And then maybe this extends up another 40 feet, the height of the second floor. But either way, I am going to leave this chapel unroofed here until much more of the structure is complete, and I can figure out what way would make the most sense to integrate it with what I know needs to be there, what is written in the description, what is shown on the drawing. I'll do all of those things first, and then the places where I have to make assumptions and make things fit because they're not described and not shown, then I will do those last, so that I can be sure that they integrate with what is mandated by the drawing. And I can tell you there's not a lot. There is definitely not a lot that is not covered by the drawing. It's one of the most detailed maps I've ever seen in a published Advanced Dungeons and Dragons module. Now, this is that spiral staircase that I was looking at earlier. This is the portion where I was saying that on the first map, on the first floor, this spire, and this is a spire, this is the base of a spire that extends on up, skyward from the castle. This spire is 50 foot in diameter, and it's sort of oval shaped on the first floor. And then on the second floor, you can see it's 60 foot in diameter, and it's circular. It's oval shaped here because it's kind of squished in by this staircase right here. And then when it gets up past the first floor, then it widens out and becomes 60 foot in diameter. And so as I built that, this is kind of what emerged here. So on the other side of this wall here is that stairwell. And these are the stairs that ascend on up. And this is that first landing that you saw there. This is that secret entrance that comes up from the servants' quarters. See, we got a trap door here. And then down into the servants' quarters, we've got a secret door right here. And then this wall right here, this exterior wall right here will rise up along with the rest of it and kind of hide that portion of the circular portion of the spire. And then that will go away. That will extend on up to the level of the third floor, and then that will be capped off. And then that leaves a sort of a little secret room right here with a little secret door for some nefarious purpose. And as a matter of fact, let's go ahead and use World Edit, and let's go ahead and do that, since I intended to do that, but I never did do it before I hit record and started recording this video. So let's go ahead and do it. I'm going to do it with World Edit, and you can see how easy it is to do this with World Edit. So what we're going to do is we're going to lay down one tough brick here, one tough brick here, and we've already got tough brick laid down there. So first we're going to choose the first tough brick, the second tough brick, and we're going to say set tough bricks. Okay, that creates that line of tough bricks, and we're going to choose the first one, then the second one, set tough bricks. Okay, now we've got the first layer of this wall, and now let's create a selection out of these tough bricks that we just laid. First one, the second one, and let's raise that, and let's say stack 11 up. Let's stack them up 11 high. There we go. And that raises it up. And here, and then here, stack 11 up. Boom, brickwork done. Let's go ahead and cap this off the old-fashioned way here. All right, and then we'll leave that hollow right there, and that will be the super secret way to get into that spiral staircase. Of course, I may cap it off like maybe at 3 or 4 blocks high and then fill in the rest of it. I'm not sure. And then this stairway here, I've gone ahead and built. Now, that's one thing that I tend to do is I tend to go ahead and build the stairways just to ensure that they're going to line up. I'm getting a better and better feel for how to slope the stairs so that they line up. That's a little bit of a mess looking down on it because the stairs themselves are made out of the same material as the wall. I may change that. It does match the description. Well, flagstone, it says. I don't think there's really flagstone in Minecraft, but these bricks kind of serve the same purpose. Flagstone's just a little less symmetrical looking. But once I put the floor in place here, then this will end exactly where it's supposed to. And then this one ends where it's supposed to as well. And then there's going to be rooms up here. I've got to get the floor laid and look at the third level. But some of these rooms, you know, I know the dimensions. I don't recall off the top of my head exactly what they're for. I just want to get the castle built, and then like I said, I'll come in here and I'll put these doors in, and I'll do the finishing touches to make these things align with what is described in the module. But I think it's looking really, really nice. So there we go. There's the first two of the three main levels, and then we've got the additional levels and the spires that are going to reach straight up into the clouds. And then beneath that, we've got two subterranean levels that extend 90 feet down into the ground. It's just, the structure is mammoth, man. It's huge. It's a big castle, and very iconic. Just very interesting to build this. Well, that's it for this one, guys. I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up here. And with the next video, we're going to go ahead and raise the walls of the third floor of the castle, build the third floor of the castle, and then from that point, it'll be the spires, and then we'll be working, then we'll have to do the subterranean portions. And oh man, it's just a lot to do. there's a lot to do, but I'm really, really enjoying it. What I'm really looking forward to doing is getting the entire structure of the castle finished so that I can go in there and start doing the polish, you know, filling up the rooms and trying to make them match the as best we can within the Minecraft environment, trying to make them match the descriptions of the rooms in the module, and putting some mechanics behind things like the doors and the secret doors and the trap doors and things like that. And then I'm going to look into modding the server so that it can spawn encounters where it's supposed to, and maybe make it play a bit more like the actual module was intended to be played. We'll see. We'll just see how it all plays out. But anyway, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up right here, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you soon. This is Cayman Wolf, the Decrepit Gamer, reminding you that you are never too old to game. And for now, my friends, I am out of here.